Sticking a whale in a fish tank, to change the subject slightly, is a bad idea. What's the old joke? It doesn't get you the fish and the whale isn't happy. No, it's a bad variation. Anyhow, with all its body fat pressed up against all four glass walls, there's no room for any of the other fish, the goldfish, the zebrafish, the suckerfish, to swim around or even eat, since, of course, the whale's going to eat not only all the fish food, but likely the fish themselves. Eventually, all the other fish are going to die. Then all you're left with is a whale alone in a fish tank. And what good is that? Point is, whales don't belong in fish tanks any more than giant transnational monopolies or oligopolies belong in our economy. Nature has a way of restricting the size of animals in their ecosystems, making sure they don't get too big and cause problems for the other animals and organisms that call that same ecosystem home. Similarly, our economy must have mechanisms to restrict the size of corporations to make sure they don't become too big and cause problems for other smaller businesses trying to make a living. This was the intent of the Sherman Antitrust Act, passed in 1890 during the height of the Gilded Age, also known as the Long Depression, when there was a bunch of whales in our fish tank economy. But the last great breakup of a monopoly happened in the 1970s and 80s when Richard Nixon's Justice Department went after at&t, which at the time was the largest corporation in the world, for violating antitrust laws. After a settlement, at&t agreed in 1984 to break up its bell system into 7 different companies known as the Baby Bells. That left the market open for new players to jump in, offering new services and new prices. The at&t whale had been taken out of the fish tank, and in the end, it was good to all the investors involved as well. In fact, the value of at&t and all its former subsidiaries tripled after the breakup. Breaking up monopolies is good for the economy. Whether it's the breakup of Standard Oil and American Tobacco in the early 20th century, or more recently, the breakup of at&t, removing the whale from the fish tank always leads to more competition in the market, which, to quote conservatives, means lower prices and better products. Unfortunately, there haven't been many success stories since the breakup of at&t. That's because in response to the at&t breakup, Ronald Reagan stopped enforcing the Antitrust Act. And the monopolies and oligopolies have since returned. Even the Baby Bells began merging together, again forming bigger and bigger telecom companies. This week, Robert Reich warned that future bailouts of Wall Street are inevitable. Why? Because there's too many dang whales in the Wall Street fish tank. As Reich points out, quote, "The biggest Wall Street banks are now far bigger than they were 4 years ago when they were considered too big to fail. The 5 largest have almost 44% of all U.S. bank deposits. That's up from 37% in 2007, just before the crash. A decade ago, they only had 28%. That means our entire banking system relies on just a few whales that must be saved at all costs from going belly up, or else the entire system goes belly up. While banking is the most notorious example of whales in a fish tank, it's not the only example. Consider our food industry. According to Tom Philpott at Mother Jones Magazine, agriculture oligopolies exist from farm to shelf. Just 4 companies control 90% of the global grain trade. Just 3 companies control 70% of our beef industry. And just 4 companies control 58% of the pork and chicken industry. On the retail side, Walmart controls 1/4 of the entire U.S. grocery market, and just 4 companies produce 75% of our breakfast cereals, 75% of our snack foods, 60% of our cookies, and half of all the ice cream sold in supermarkets across the nation. And then there's the health insurance market. Just 4 health insurance companies, United Health Group, WellPoint, Aetna, and Humana, control 3/4 of the entire health insurance market. And as a 2007 study by the group Healthcare for America now uncovered, in 38 states, just 2 insurers control 57% of the market. In 15 states, one company controls 60% of the market. Since there's no competition in that marketplace, prices continue to get higher and higher, while the profits for these whales skyrocket and the services that they're offering start to stink. In the cellular phone market, just 4 companies, at&t Mobile, Verizon Wireless, T-Mobile, and Sprint Nextel, 4 companies control 89% of the market. And in the internet market, just a handful of corporations, at&t, Comcast, Time Warner, and Verizon, control more than half of the market. Also, from newspapers to television, radio to movies, oligopolies, or whales, dominate the markets. If we were to give the internet monopolies the same treatment Richard Nixon gave AT&T in the 1970s, then maybe we Americans could enjoy the same super fast internet speeds and super cheap rates that most of the developed world has, because they keep the whales out of their fish tanks. For example, South Korea gets internet speeds 200 times faster than what most Americans get. Yet they pay $27 a month for that. Similar success stories can be found all across Europe. Rising healthcare, food, and energy costs can all be tracked back to the whales and the fish tank problem in the monopolies in America. Recently, we unveiled our hashtag No Billionaires campaign. The hashtag No Billionaires, and we've got the Twitter at No Billionaires, nobillionaires.com, to draw attention to the parasitic effect billionaires have on our economy. You can check that website out at nobillionaires.com. But trillionaire transnational corporations are just as harmful to our economy. And we need lawmakers willing to stand up to these corporate whales and get back to enforcing the Sherman Antitrust Act once again. Let the fish swim freely.